Good morning, my beautiful brothers and sisters in Yeshua. Today is Monday, the 24th of July, 2023. It is 9:07 a.m. here in Australia. I hope you're all really well and I hope you've all been blessed. This morning, I would like to make a Rapture video, an encouragement video, and just do some Bible studies with you, and just going off the back of my last video where I was asking, what do you guys want to see? So I'm just going to answer a few comments and things like that, but basically I want to talk about this upcoming High Watch Date, which is 7/26 July the 26th, going through to the July the 28th, I believe. In other words, Pentecost, the new wine, what Dr. Barry Orr has been talking about. I've sort of been more inclined to think it's towards the end of the year, in December, on December the 12th and 13th particularly, when the last day of the UN COP28 summit is. Because I know back in history, that's when the elites tend to make big worldly decisions, is on that last day of those COP summits that they have, and that's in December. And but Father has been showing me some things that I can't ignore, and I would like to show you guys my sort of things that I've been picking up about 7/26. And we all know that 7/26 is harpazo in the concordance, in Strong's Concordance. And so that's really exciting. And so I thought we would do a video about that today, and I would show you everything that I found, and let's just encourage one another, and we'll jump straight into it. So the first thing I wanted to show you, brothers and sisters, is when you get a YouTube channel, okay, YouTube gives you this handle. Okay, I've called myself Rebecca B, okay, from 2016, since I've joined on this channel. I gave myself the name Rebecca B, right? But YouTube adds numbers onto the end, which gives you a unique handle. Okay, so how interesting is it that YouTube has given me the handle Rebecca B 7261? So that's absolutely amazing. I've always thought that's really, really amazing, the fact that my handle has 726 in it. And I love talking about the rapture, and so I just thought I'd share that with you, because I have this huge smile on my face every time I see that, and I'm like, oh, that's just fantastic, that really represents who I am. Okay, so first thing I wanted to show you, and I'm just going to jump straight into it. Everyone's talking about the 7/26 and how it's true Pentecost, and how it's the new wine from Acts chapter 2. And so we're going to get all into that, but I just wanted to show you this day count straight from the beginning. Okay, if you take the 26th of July 2023, and we're going to subtract the 1,335 days because of this verse, and we're just going to go there quickly. Daniel 12. Okay, right down the end here it says, and from that day that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that makes desolate is set up, there shall be 1,290 days. So from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the word sacrifice actually isn't in the Bible, it just reads, and from the time that the daily shall be taken away, and there's going to be an abomination that gets set up. Okay, the abomination's going to be set up. There's going to be 1,290 days. So from the day that happens until the end of that time is 1,290 days. But then it says for us, blessed is he that waiteth. So there's two very important things in those 5 words there. Okay, blessed, we've got the blessed hope, right? Blessed is he that waiteth. In our patience possesses ye your soul, right? So we've got these two wonderful things, the blessed hope and the waiting and the patience, okay? Because you are patient, I'm going to spare you from the hour of trial, all these wonderful things. So blessed is he that waiteth and comes to the 1335th day. Okay, so that's where I'm getting that from. So obviously from the time that a daily day, which I believe is the daily offering of prayer, and because the temple is not built by hands anymore. Father God, his Holy Spirit resides in us. Our bodies are the temple, okay, of the living God. So something happened, and I think we all know what I'm referring to here. Something happened 1,335 days ago, from July 26, 2023. Something happened that was set up, and the daily offering shall be taken away. So the key words here is that an abomination was set up 1,335 days ago from July 26, 2023. Okay, so if we do that, knowing where we get that from the scriptures, if we go July 26, 2023, subtract 1,335 days, we come to the 29th of July. The 29th of November, 2019. Now, can anybody guess what happened on the 29th of November, 2019? Okay, I'm just going to show the article, but I'm not going to talk about it because we're going to get banned if we do. But as you can see here and read here, they fell ill in November of 2019. You know what this is all about. I'm not going to read it, but you can see what I'm talking about, okay? So this is all these reports here, okay? All these reports here. That's the whole reason it was called something 19, right? Because it happened in 2019. So with that being said, we're not going to go too much more into that detail, but I believe very much this is exactly what Daniel 12 is talking about. The abomination that makes desolate is set up. Okay, what's desolate? To make empty. Okay, that is the whole plan of it. That's why there's 4, 5, 6, BOOSTERS, It's not just one, it's not just two, but it's 3, 4, 5, and it'll keep going, and there's going to be so many. But anyway, eventually it makes the person desolate, okay? And that is the abomination that makes desolate. There's going to be 1,290 days, but blessed is he that waits and comes to the 1,335th day, which very well, brothers and sisters, could be the 26th of July, 2023. 726. So now what I wanted to talk to you about, and what I feel Father has been showing me, another little piece to this 726 puzzle that I don't believe anybody else has talked about, but I could be wrong because obviously I don't watch every single video on YouTube that there is, and actually, to be honest, I don't watch many videos on YouTube anymore. I just rather study and research, because otherwise I get on to man's doctrines and whatever it may be. But one thing Father was showing me in my mind was the beginning of the coming of the Son of Man chapters. So we have Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21. There is a similarity, particularly at the beginning of each of those. Well, they run through the similarity the whole way through, but at the beginning, Father was mentioning to me, pay attention what's happening at the beginning of these coming of the Son of Man chapters. And I want to talk, and I'm going to read them to you so we can discover this together. Okay, so like I said, we are the temple of the living God, right? The Holy Spirit resides in us, and we're supposed to not grieve the Spirit, and we're supposed to give the Spirit We're not supposed to pollute the sanctuary, with drugs and alcohol and all this other stuff. And we're supposed to take good care of ourselves because the Holy Spirit resides in us, right? So with the whole idea of the temple, okay, many years ago, I think, as all this, what was coming out, I did many videos on the first seal, the white horse, and how the bow and the crown is, in Greek, it's the toxic corona, which, you can't make this stuff up. And we looked right into the fact of the hippocampus, which is in your, where your temples are, like when you get a headache and you rub those things on the above your eyes and you rub them, and they say, you're rubbing your temples because you got a headache. Right, well, in those particular spots, we've got these two hippocampus, right, one on each side, and they emanate a white light. I'm not kidding you. Okay, this is why it's the white horse and the white light. And hippie is where the word horse actually comes from. So that's pretty cool in itself. So with all this stuff to do with the temple, okay, the first temple got destroyed on the 9th of Av, right? The second temple got destroyed on the 9th of Av. Now we are the temple of the living God. And our fleshly bodies must be destroyed because they're corruptible, right? And we are going to be given, in the twinkling of an eye, an incorruptible body, a perfect body like this. Done. Okay, we're going to be sitting here in 1 minute. It's going to be changed in the twinkling of an eye. And so that, in effect, is the third temple being destroyed. Okay, and because I've been thinking about that so often, this is what Father's put in my head. He's like, read the Coming of the Son of Man chapters, all three of them, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and you will see that it talks about the temple first. Okay, and that's the first thing to get destroyed at the coming of the Son of Man, is the temple. Okay, so I hope you're following along with what I'm saying here, because this is unbelievable. Okay, well, not unbelievable, it's fantastic. Okay, so Matthew 24, start from the beginning. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple. Okay, he departed from the temple. Come out of her, my people. That's why he did, and the Holy Spirit and the restrainer and everything like that is going to be departing from the temple, because it's going to be made incorruptible. Okay, because as we stand right now, we cannot enter the kingdom of heaven and stand before the Almighty God. We need an incorruptible body that is covered, glowing in the atonement of Yeshua Jesus Christ, Father God's Son. Okay, that is how we will be able to stand before him. Otherwise we would die instantly, we would perish. Okay, this is why this transformation and this this receiving of our white robes and glorified bodies and incorruptible bodies must happen in a second, so that because this is all going to happen so fast, brothers and sisters. This is why it says be ready. Be sober, be awake, be ready at all times, because he's going to come like a thief in the night. And unless you are the man who knows the rough timing that the thief is going to come, you're going to stay awake so that your house does not be broken into. Okay, because what does a thief do? He comes into the house in the middle of the night when everyone's sleeping, and he grabs everything that he needs to grab, and he walks out. And the whole idea is not to make a sound, not to wake anybody up, but it's only when the people wake up in the morning, they're like, oh my goodness, we've been robbed. That's what he's asking you not to do. He's saying, I'm not, yes, we might not know the exact minute, hour, second, whatever, but we definitely know the season. And we are so in the season right now, it's not funny. It's literally, popping off with fireworks. It's just big neon lights flashing. Everything is in line. And I know we've seen and said this before many times. My apologies about that. I have no idea what I was up to or what I was saying. But basically, sorry if I repeat myself, but yes, I'm talking about the temples and how we can see that at the beginning of each of the Coming of the Son of Man chapters, we have, we have this story about how the destruction of the temple is going to happen first. So I'll just start reading again, and apologies if I read this before, but I just got interrupted by that phone call then. Okay, so and Jesus went out and departed from the temples and from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Okay? And then it says, And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when will these things be? Okay, that question, that first question, when will these things be, is in reference to the destruction of the temple. Okay, the disciples are actually asking 3 questions here. Tell us, when will these things be? That's 1. What is going to be the sign of your coming? That's 2. And what's going to be the sign of the end of the world? That's 3. Okay, so the first question they ask is, when will these things be, in referencing the destruction of the temple? Because Jesus said there's not going to be one stone left upon the other. Okay, it's all going to be thrown down. Okay, so that is the first thing that happened. Okay, in the line of the Coming of the Son of Man prophecy chapter, the destruction of the temple in 70 AD on the 9th of Av, okay, is what was the kickoff. That is when the commandment went forth, right? Pretty much. That is when the whole prophecy of the beginning of the end started, was that destruction of that first temple. Okay? This was it, the second temple. The second temple, rather. Okay, so, and then Jesus goes on to say, take heed that no man deceives you. Okay, so that's very important. This is why, he references here that Jesus went out and departed from the temple. And in Revelation, it says, come out of her, my people. I really think that we're cutting it right down to the end, hours and minutes here, brothers and sisters. So unless you know that the church or whatever you go to is on fire and, really honors and reverences Almighty Father God as the one true creator of everything that ever exists, and you obey and listen to his beautiful Son Yeshua Jesus Christ, unless that church preaches that and teaches the message of salvation and the gospel and the good news, then I would come out of her. Everything, every church, every place of worship, unfortunately, has been infiltrated by the enemy. Especially, I'm not talking so much home churches and things like that, but even then, remember Jesus had 12 disciples, right? And one of them betrayed him to death. So just please be very, very careful in these last days that you are not there for the people, for the company, for anything like that. You're there for the right reasons, to get spiritual growth, to learn the truth. But other than that, just walk away. Come out of her, my people, okay? So this is why Jesus starts with, take heed that no man deceives you. Okay, so we're going to come back to the rest of Matthew 24, but I want to read Mark 13. Okay, this is Mark's account of the Coming of the Son of Man chapter, okay? And as he went out of the temple, one of the disciples said unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. So he was boasting about this temple, right? And Jesus answering said unto him, See thou these great buildings? there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Okay, so the same thing. He starts this whole conversation, this whole prophecy of, when will these things be? What's going to be the sign of your coming? And what's going to be the sign of the end of the world? He starts this whole thing with the destruction of the temple. And now this is why I'm trying to put this all together, that on 726, which turns out to be the 9th of Av, okay, the day the temples were destroyed, the 1 and 2, okay, and I truly think that our temples need to be destroyed and made to from corruptible to incorruptible before the physical third temple that the Antichrist is going to build can happen. It has to take place, right? We're going to do some more encouraging words and from the scriptures to say that there is indeed a pre-tribulation. And I know that I veered off a little bit in a few videos ago, and I was saying, what if this is a big hoax, the whole pre-tribulation, and that's fine, okay? We're all on this is my journey. I'm just sharing with you. I'm an oversharer. I'll share things even if it can irritate people sometimes and offend people, and I'm sorry for that. That was never my intention. But I'm a deep thinker and a deep researcher, and I spend pretty much 90% of my spare time in looking for ancient texts and things that can concrete and verify everything, okay? Because I know that we're living in the days of the ultimate deception, and I do not want to be deceived. I do not want to be deceived. I know the basis and the premise of the gospel and salvation, and I've never had an issue with that. I believe Yeshua Jesus Christ died on a cross, and he was the perfect atonement for my sins and everybody else's sins who believe in him. And there's nothing I can do that will reconcile me back to the Father. It was through Jesus' gift on the cross that's reconciling me back to the Father. Okay, I believe that, receive that, and confess that with my mouth. But everything else, the doctrines of man and things like that have crept into the churches, i.e. the Trinity, coming from the Council of Nicaea and, from Constantine and the Roman Empire. And it's just, we need to be very careful, and we need to value the truth more than we do, because we even get a warning in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. We get a warning about this, okay? And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them a strong delusion, that they believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. These things, this verse here and the verse that says, Lord, Lord, did I not do all of these things in your name, cast out demons, heal the sick, and all this stuff? And when Yeshua says, go away from me, I never knew you. Does that not terrify anybody to want to search day and night to make sure that we are not, that's the words that will not be spoken to us? Depart from me, I never knew you. I mean, this is why my heart is so for the truth, no matter what rabbit hole it takes me, because I have faith in my Father that even if I steer off onto a little prodigal son trail, that goes off into some way, I will always learn, and everything will always glorify the Father in the end. Okay? And I hope and appreciate, or I hope and pray rather, that you can appreciate where I'm coming from, because when I see this, I want this for you too. I want this for my brothers and sisters, because if I find out that we've been deceived in some way, it's my job as a watchwoman to stand on that wall and blow that shofar and say, attention, attention, something's fishy, something's sus here, and I want to get to the bottom of it. And so that's the reason. And I know I keep explaining myself all the time and I shouldn't have to, but there's a lot of people who are highly offended by some of the things that I say. Anyway, I'm going on a rant and getting sidetracked here. So let's go to, we just did Mark 13, right? Where the disciples were actually boasting about the stones and the temples. And Jesus says the same thing. Not one stone will be left on top of the other. Now Luke 21, okay, it starts like this. And he looked up and saw the rich man casting their gifts into the treasury. And he also saw a certain poor widow casting in tither 2 mites. So she was putting a couple of pennies into the tithing thing, right? And he said, of a truth I say unto you that this poor widow has cast in more than they all. For all these have their abundance cast into the offerings of God, but she of her penury hath cast in all the living that she had. Okay, so these rich people that come along and thrown in, they want to be seen by everybody. Look at this guy, he's tithing $100 or $500, whatever, and here comes this poor little old lady. She's put in a couple of pennies, but that's all she has. She has that much faith in the Almighty God that she has thrown in everything that she has, even though she doesn't have much. But to Father, that's way more important than you going, here, I can spare $500 because I'm rich, right? And look at me, everybody, I'm such a good tither. It's like people who do good deeds and they shouting it to the rooftops and everyone's like, oh, well done, you're such an awesome person, you're such a great person. Father says, you've got your reward on this earth. You got your reward from man. But when you do things, don't even let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. Just do them because you loved me and because I love you. Okay? So we're going to get down here. And as some spoke of the temple, how it was adorned with godly stones and gifts, he said, as for these things which you behold, the days will come in which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And they said, Master, but when will these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? Okay, and he said, take heed that ye be not deceived. Okay, but and I want to talk about this verse too in Luke 21 verse 8. Because this, I've always stayed away from this verse with the whole rapture thing because of this, okay? It goes on to say, I'll read it again. And he said, take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. So I was always like, he wants us to watch, he wants us to warn, but he's saying don't go anywhere near people who are saying, the time's drawing near for him to come. Don't go after these people. And I thought, well, that seems a little, hypocritical, asking us to watch and wait and warn. But what I think this is in reference to is that Father knew some of us watchmen and women have been doing this for a long time. Okay, for a long time, particularly on like YouTube, whatever, I've been on YouTube since 2016. So pretty much 7 years. I've been telling people about the rapture and saying many high watch dates. This is it. And getting, a whole backfire. No man knows the day or the hour. But you know what? It's just everything's perfect the way it's happening. Because of this very factor, if we could know the day and the hour, right, then just say it was like the 25th of December in the year 2027, right? If we knew for a fact we could find it, we were absolutely sure that that was going to be the end, that was going to be when the rapture was. How many Christians, or how many people in general around the world, would go, oh, well, I'm going to live, just freely and how I want to live right up to the 20th of December 2027, and then those last 5 days I'm going to actually change my life and walk with God, and you know what I mean? So I think that that Father in heaven has put this spirit of has given a spirit to the watchman and watchwomen community of just overwhelming evidence each and every time. And it's not just us that sees these things, it's everybody sees these things. We're not blind, especially now. It's so much different than it was 3-4 years ago. Now the evil, the transgender, the homosexuality, everything is right in your face. It's there like never before. The war, the hands on just hovering over those red buttons. Okay, hovering over those red buttons. They are waiting for the restrainer to be removed, and then it's go time. It's go time for them. And I think that we are going to come to a place where it's just like for instance with Noah. Okay, Noah had to be faithful for like 120 years, right? Building that boat in the middle of the desert. Well, not the desert, but nowhere near the ocean. These people had never experienced rain before. Okay, because in Genesis it says that no rain came on the earth, only a mist came up like a dew, which fed the plants every morning, right? There was no rain. So could you imagine the faith that Noah had to build this ark in the middle of nowhere near an ocean, telling people it's going to flood? No wonder they laughed at him. This is exactly what's happening to us when we say that there is a rapture, that we are going to be snatched, harpazoed, caught up, in the blink of an eye, right before, the end of the world begins. We're going to be taken out of this place before the end of the world begins. Can you imagine people that don't know anything about it, that don't know about the gospel, that don't know about the good news, that don't even know, so many Christians don't even know any verses of the Bible? It's very, very sad. But we are Noahs. We are like Noah. We are telling the world, we're screaming it from the rooftops, that this event is going to happen. It will happen. We have a lot of verification in the Word of God. He is a good daddy. He is the ultimate parent, the ultimate father. He's not going to leave his kids behind. Like I explain to my parents all the time, because they're so unsure of their salvation, and it's very sad, but I know a lot of people are. I say, you look at yourself as a parent. If your child was in another state or whatever, and they rang you up and said they were hurt, or they'd been in a car accident or something like that, you cannot tell me that there's not one parent that loves their children on this earth that wouldn't drop everything immediately, sell things that they had to if they couldn't afford it, and get on the plane and go over to their child instantly to protect them. In a heartbeat, right? You would sell everything that you had to get there, to be there for your child. So please, how much more does our Father in heaven love us? This is our test right now, brothers and sisters. We don't not need to go through the refining and purifying to make our robes white. Our robes are white now from our confession and belief of Yeshua Jesus Christ in his blood. And that's what covers us right now. If we believe and receive and confess that with our mouth, that's what saves us. Nothing we do, but we accept it through grace and faith. And that is the key. That is literally the only thing we need to do, is believe it and receive it and confess it. Okay? It's these people that are lukewarm, like it says in Revelation in the Laodicean church, that Father will spit out of his mouth because they're lukewarm. I wish you were hot or cold, but because you're lukewarm, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. And these are the same people that Daniel 11 talks about down here. Okay, where is it? Okay, and some of them with understanding, okay, understand this, some Christians, they shall fall, to try them, to purge them, to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. Okay, and that's exactly like Revelation 7. Okay, who are these people with white robes? So you know, these are the ones who came out of great tribulation, and they had to wash their robes to make them white. Okay, there's lots of people. There's the bride, which is us, which is the only reason that we're brides is because we believe, receive, and confess with our mouth that Yeshua Jesus Christ died for our sins, and we are saved. We are saved. We love him, and through that knowledge, through that beautiful, wonderful knowledge of being saved, brothers and sisters, that is why by default our nature, the Holy Spirit that works within us, God's beautiful personal spirit that resides within each and every one of us who believe and receive and confess this, that is what makes us do good things. It's not us doing good things. We are, I don't want to say inherently evil, but we're very selfish, as we all are originally, right? That's the reason Satan fell, because of pride and ego and everything like that. We have that in us as well. But it's because of the Holy Spirit that works through us, that's what makes us want to do good things, because we love our Lord, we love Yeshua Jesus Christ. We want to be a reflection of God's goodness on this earth and be a good role model, so people say, wow, that's a really nice person, and what makes you so happy, and why are you so happy in these depressing times? And then you can say, because I walk with God, you know, and I know where I'm going after this is all wrapped up. Okay, and have the assurance. Do you know how beautiful that is? Do you know how sad it is that so many people, especially young people, this day and age, just don't believe in anything? Imagine that. Imagine going through your life and then you're getting old, you know, you're coming to 50, 60, 70 years, and then you going, oh, my life is coming to an end, and you believe in nothing? Like, how scary and terrifying would that be? It's such a beautiful and comforting thing to not be scared of death, because I know whatever happens, I know God will keep me here to look after my children. I know that. 100% I know that. Because I bring my children up in the Lord. You know, we have graces, we have amens, we talk about him a lot. We watch, you know, Superbook, which is a children's animation series about the Bible. You know, without me, they wouldn't hear about the Lord. So I know the Lord is going to protect me and keep me safe. And I'm very blessed and very honored. And that is why, because I love him, I will continue to do so, because that is my responsibility as a parent, to bring my children up in the Lord. When they grow up and they go on their little prodigal son walks, like we all did, they will come back. They will come back to him. Okay, I know that 110%, no matter what happens. I mean, I have my testimony here on YouTube. It's way, way, way down in my videos, but it's like one of the first couple I ever made. And I've been there. I'm talking weed addiction. I'm talking I've come out of hard drug addictions. I've been there. Believe me, brothers and sisters, I've been there. And I know my Father's loved me through all of it. Okay? And I've loved my Father and Yeshua Jesus Christ through all of that. Even I know I've said this before, but I always find it quite funny. Even in my teenage years where I'd go out drinking and getting blind, rotten drunk and smoking it up, whatever, I would always literally put on big presentations about Noah and the giants and the flood, and people would be amazed that this stuff was written about in the Bible. And I love it. I'd just be in my element, just teaching and telling people, yes, there were giants, and yes, there was a global flood and blah, blah, blah. And I was off my face. I was, what somebody would say, no, that person's not saved. I've always been saved. You've always been saved, brothers and sisters. Okay? We are all, our best deeds are like filthy rags to God, remember? But it is, that's what it says. Okay. Another reason, while I'm thinking of it now, is another reason why the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are separate. They're not three being one, and one, each of them are gods. That's not true. Because the Father, even the Son says, the Father is greater than I am. Jesus sits on the right-hand side of Father. The gift of the gospel, where God so loved the world that he gave his one and only begotten Son. If Jesus was God, right, that the whole story would be invalid. Okay? It wasn't God himself, because if it was God himself, brothers and sisters, it means that because God cannot die. It says this in the Old Testament. It also says in the Old Testament that God is not a man. Okay? Jesus Christ was his one and only literal begotten Son. Okay? This is why the story is so beautiful. This is why this story cannot be touched and not have the doctrines of man put onto it to say that, yeah, actually it was really God the Father that came down and he manifested himself into the Son and then died on the cross. Oh my goodness, brothers and sisters, we've got to be so careful because of the first commandment, okay? You shall have no other gods before me or beside me. Nothing shall be made in heaven, on the earth, or in the waters below, in the likeness of me. That is the first commandment, and there's a curse that goes along with that and a blessing. Okay, whether you believe it or whether you reject it and go with man's traditions to say that Jesus is the Father and the Holy Spirit is the Father and the Father is the Father and they're all one God, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that people and the people don't realize where this doctrine comes from the church fathers. Yeshua Jesus Christ even said to the Pharisees and the Sadducees of his day, he said, you are from your father the devil. Okay, Jesus not once said that I am God. Okay, he always said, and even when he did everything, right, you notice he healed and he did all of his things on the Sabbath day. Did you notice that? Because he wanted to get rid of the traditions of man, because the Jews were honouring Father with their lips, but their heart was so far from him that they would rather have their traditions, not light fires and stone people on the Sabbath and all this rubbish. And this is why Yeshua picked corn on the Sabbath. He went on a Sabbath day journey. He healed people. All the stuff he did was on a Sabbath day. To throw that out of the window. That's why it says in the New Testament, judge no man on his Sabbath day, on his holy day, or what he eats and he drinks. These are only a shadow of the things to come. Okay, and then also too, people say, oh, well, why did the Jews want to stone him? They wanted to stone him for being, for saying that he was God. Jesus didn't say he was God. The Jews made that claim. Jesus said, why do you want to stone me? Because I said I'm the Son of God. Jesus confirms that, okay? And then Jesus also goes on to it. He says, have I not told you that ye are all gods? And that's referencing Psalms 82, that ye are all gods. Moses was a god to Pharaoh. We are all God's children, so we are God's little g's, because we're God's children. It's literally, look, I'll show you, because people are going to be like, blasphemy, blasphemy. Look at Psalms 82. Okay, verse 6, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. Okay, so I'm not trying to be one of these new age hippie people who are saying I am God and everything revolves around me. No, we are children of the Most High. Our place is not on this earth. Our home is not on this earth. We are here for a test to serve what day. At this day, what God will you serve? And we've got to make that choice every single day and confess it with our mouth that we serve the Almighty God, the one true God, the Jehovah, Abba, Papa, okay? And we listen and obey to his beautiful, precious Son that he gave us. He gave this world, okay, for an atonement for our sins, which we deserve the death. But because of what the Father did by giving his Son up, Jesus became that perfect sacrifice, okay? And that is the beautiful love story. That is the beautiful love story, okay? That is love. That is the greatest love anyone could ever give. And, pardon me, I am so thankful to Yeshua Jesus Christ that he put his hand up and he offered himself up to be that atoning sacrifice. There is no words for that. There is absolutely no words. And this is why in John, when Jesus appears to walk through the walls and he scared all the disciples after he was resurrected, they freaked out and Jesus said, look, see my hands and my feet? Does a ghost have flesh and bones as I have? Okay, so Jesus was letting everyone, mind you, he descended to heaven already. He ascended to heaven as soon as he was resurrected out of the grave. When he seen Mary, he said, don't touch me, woman. I have not yet ascended to the Father, right? She runs off. He tells her to go and tell the disciples. She runs off and he goes and ascends to the Father and comes back, because it says at the evening of the first day of the week. So the first day of the week was when he was resurrected, in the early dawn, at dawn, right? Then he sees Mary, don't touch me. Mary runs off. Jesus ascends to the Father and comes back before the evening of the first day. So that same day. And then he goes and sees the disciples. Okay? He saw all the believing disciples first. And brothers and sisters, this is another reassurance. It's sad, but it's a reassurance. All of the disciples left Jesus. Do you realize that none of the disciples were there at the cross? It was only the women that were there at the cross. All the other disciples fled. They didn't have any guts. They were all cowards. But Jesus went there first. After he came back from the ascension from his Father, he went to all of the disciples first. Okay, bar Thomas, because Thomas did not believe. He wanted to see Jesus and look at the holes in his hands and feet before he believed him. So Jesus appears to the disciples first, and then 8 days later it says he went and saw the disciples plus Thomas, and the door was shut. This is a perfect picture of the bride, okay? The bride going in first and Jesus presenting himself as the perfect sacrifice, right? Regardless of how cowardly we are and whatever and all of our crappy works, but because We believed and we received and confessed with our mouth, and we followed Jesus, and we, pardon me, this is what makes us worthy, because of our belief and faith in Jesus. That's why Jesus went to those disciples first. But Thomas, who represents the people who are going to get thrown into great tribulation, that's why Jesus went and seen him 8 days later and said, "Here, Thomas, stick your fingers in my hands and in the side of my, in my side where there's a hole. You needed to see to believe, but blessed are those who believe without seeing." That's us, okay? That's us. Just have faith, brothers and sisters. Your salvation is sure. It's absolutely sure. So it's just those people, it's like it says in Revelation, fear and unbelief shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. Okay? Fear and unbelief shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. This is why we are to know the scriptures. And because that is what the only thing that the devil can do is fear and threats, like I've always said. And if you do not know your scriptures, the devil can come at you and whisper into your ear and tell you lies like he did in the garden. Oh, God surely did not say that. God surely did not say that. That you're going to die. He wouldn't say that. He knows that once you eat of the fruit that your eyes are going to be open. Unless you know the scriptures, brothers and sisters, then you're going to believe because you're thinking it's your own voice, right? But if you know the scriptures, then you can say, "Get behind me, Satan. Flee, Satan. I want nothing to do with you. That's garbage. I know what the word of God says." Okay, this is why it's so important. And this is why Satan used God's words when he was trying to tempt Yeshua Jesus Christ. And that's another thing. God cannot be tempted, all right? And people like to say, see, Satan was saying, where Jesus says, "Don't tempt the Lord thy God." People like to say that Jesus was calling himself the Lord thy God. No. The Lord, the Father in heaven cannot be tempted, okay? He cannot be tempted. But Yeshua Jesus Christ could be and had to be. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a fair and perfect sacrifice for us all. He had to be tempted in every single way. He had to be completely 100% a man, but he was born with an abundantness of faith and spirituality in hearing the Father's voice. Abundant. He was born with that, okay? He came, just like I believe we all came from heaven first before we came down to here to do this test. I believe very much that Yeshua, and this is why the story of Abraham and Isaac was there, to see, Father wanted to see if a human being could sacrifice his own son for the love of God. And once that was accomplished, then God, for the love of humanity, gave us his own son. The story is so beautiful, and it's just absolutely perfect and wonderful and beautiful. But let's just have a look a little bit more in here. Everything we read in the Bible now is just screaming present day. It's unbelievable. Okay, Daniel 1 is unbelievable. Daniel 11, is just amazing. You can start here in verse 20 of Daniel 11. Then he shall stand up in his estate, a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom. That's Biden, okay? But within a few days, so within a couple of years, he shall be destroyed, okay? But neither in anger nor in battle. So he's not going to be destroyed through anger or battle. He's just going to be moved out of the way, okay? Which everybody knows with Biden, he can hardly put a sentence together. I don't need to go into that. We all know the state of that, and it has to be like that. That's why they had Bush in before Obama, okay? They had to have the silly guy in so that whoever came in next was seen as some kind of hero. They need a crappy guy in now so the guy who comes in next which I truly believe is going to be Trump, and this is what verse 21 is talking about, okay? And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honour to the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. Now, again, with this Trump thing, you know, everybody's like, you know, I saw a sister do a TikTok video the other day, and it really opened my eyes. And I really thought, yes, because I've always been sus on Trump, right? You know that. And for a long time, I thought he was the Antichrist, and he still very well could be. You know, they're going to play us right to the end. They're very tricky and conniving and all that kind of stuff. But she mentioned in this video, she was saying, do you ever wonder why Trump and all of those people, the Q movement, QAnon and all that, they were big on and the same with the movie The Sounds of Freedom, right? Brothers and sisters, we live in a world where if anything is famous, anything is like right up there in the movies, I'm sorry, but I've got to look twice at it. I know that everyone loves this movie, The Sound of Freedom, and it's just, hear me out, okay? I think there's something completely sus with it, because she mentioned in this video, and I thought this is really, really true, that you notice how they, for years, right, we've been hearing that Trump and QAnon, the white hats, whatever, they've been going, you know, to underground tunnels and rescuing these kids. Where are they, brothers and sisters? Where are all these children? It's still happening. Evil's getting way worse, whatever. You know, the coup should have already happened, the takeover, whatever. It's been, 3 years now? Now, why do you think they're bringing so much attention to this movie, The Sounds of Freedom, right? About all this, the sex trafficking and the children and all that kind of stuff, okay? And she was mentioning something about the fact that they're bringing this attention to, because everybody, no matter what, whether you're a good person, a bad person, a Christian, or not anything like that, everyone loves their children, right? So what is everyone going to do to protect their children when all this truth comes out and people start getting angry, whatever? They're going to chip the children to keep track of them, because nobody wants to lose their children, right? All these children go missing. 800,000 children a year, or whatever it may be, go missing. So what's the best way to stop that? Is to chip your children. Okay? It's the same thing with this medical bed. This medical bed and this Nasera, Gosera, where all this money is supposed to be coming in. You're supposed to have an unlimited amount of money every month. You know, your own place, your own yard, everyone's going to have freedom, etc., etc. We're going to have these medical beds that are going to cure all diseases, and, you know, but you have to come to the redemption centers, and you have to have your frequency tested to make sure you're a good person, and then we give you these quantum computers, which have this ultimate wealth on there that you've been owed from all the bad elites and the banks and everything that, you know, they've taken money from you since birth. Yada, yada, yada. It's a trap, brothers and sisters. It's a trap. We are not going into a revival. We are not going into a revival at all. All these things that are happening around the world, you know, remember the big revival that was going on in that church or that university, whatever, and they were singing and preaching there for like 40, 50 days. Albany, was it? Anyway. It's all a trap, brothers and sisters. I did a video on it, and a lot of people hated it because a lot of people don't want to hear the truth, okay? That was run by a bunch of transgender people that and bisexual people in that community, right? It was promoted and ran by that, and there was photos and videos of this going on, and of them saying, you know, they were proud that they were the ones that started this big movement. We've got to realize that Yeshua starts this whole thing with, take heed that no man deceives you. That's the key, brothers and sisters, is not to be deceived in these last moments in history. That's why you are to come out of her, my people. Because unless you're in your quiet space, in your quiet room, in your prayer room, your own sanctuary at home, listening to the Holy Spirit, the voice of the Lord, then you're going to be deceived. It's unless you know the scriptures and they're written on your heart, you're going to be deceived. It's as simple as that. And you know, look at the reward. Look at the reward for being faithful and a good and faithful servant, of studying the word and researching and seeking the kingdom of heaven first. We do these things, the reward is every good thing will be given to you. Every good thing. You know, God is not a casual or a part-time thing. He should be a full-time job, not a job, a full-time commitment, a relationship. You know, I love him so very much, and I want to share that with you guys, my brothers and sisters, that he is our Papa and he loves us so much, and to him this every generation is but a speck in the ocean, right? And our life goes by so quickly. It literally feels like I was in high school yesterday and now I'm 42 and I've got 6 children. And you know, I can physically start feeling myself to become old. My back hurts and everything like that. You know, so it's downhill now. You know what I'm saying? But I'm okay with that because I know where we're going. I know where I'm going. I know where my children are going. And I know where everybody who loves the Lord and loves the return of Yeshua Jesus Christ, I know where they're going. So, you know, and that, when that happens, that moment, that's the beginning of eternity. Never to be sorrowful, never to be in pain, never to cry, never to fall over and break any bones again, to be incredibly wise afterwards, and to have everything at our fingertips and our creativeness and all of our mind unlocked to the beauty and I can't even think of the word, you know. That's where we fail as humans. We can't even have a language to comprehend what's about to happen to us. You know, the thoughts of heaven. Like many years ago, I did a video showing you the amount of square footage that each mansion in heaven would have for each of us. And it was something ridiculous, like 76,000 square foot. Each of our houses would be in our Father's mansion. 76,000 square foot. I mean, you know, we get to plant vineyards, and that's for us. And, you know, no more working for the man. Oh, and it's for eternity, it's forever. We never have to worry. We never have to worry. And that's just as I'm thinking about it now. This is not the nicest of subjects, but, you know, hell, right? I quite often wonder, because each and every one of us were made eternal, okay? And that is why this is so significant that we get on the right side. Because if you aren't eternally saved in the eternal paradise in the kingdom of heaven, right, then by default you go in the other way. And, you know, a lot of people like to think, oh, well, you know, yeah, I didn't believe in God or whatever, but I wasn't a bad person, or I didn't do horrible things. Maybe I'm just going to be snuffed out and that'll be the end of me, you know. But then I was thinking the other day, and I thought, we were originally created, same with all the angels and everything like that, to live forever, brothers and sisters. It was only because of the sin, the wages of sin is death, right? But however, once we die, we either we either go to one place or the other for eternity. So, in a nutshell, hell is very, very, very real, brothers and sisters. Now, you and I don't have to be concerned about this, but this should be our ultimate heart's mission, is at every opportunity to tell those who don't know about the good news, which is like the best news in the entire universe, that you can be saved and have eternal life by believing and receiving in Yeshua Jesus Christ. We need to put that in the forefront of our hearts, minds, and daily tasks, that we at least try and save one person a day. At least. There's not even words to explain what I'm trying to say here, and how important it is. But it is literal, eternal salvation or damnation. That's the two options you have here, because we were made to live forever. Okay, and that's what happened up prior to Jesus' death. The good, the ones that followed Father, laid in Abraham's bosom. Okay, and that's what Yeshua Jesus Christ did when he was crucified on the cross, and he went down into Hades. He went into Abraham's bosom and pulled all those faithful men of God up. And that is in Matthew 28, I think. That is where it says that, many of those that slept arose out of the grave and appeared to many, went into the holy city and appeared to many. Okay. So, brothers and sisters, this is real. This is really, really real. So no matter what the persecution, no matter what anything comes, you just keep encouraging your brothers and sisters, your family members, your loved ones, your work colleagues, strangers in the street. The best way to do it, brothers and sisters, is to write something out. Like, my dear, beautiful friends, whoever finds this note, please note that there's a God in heaven who loves you very much, and that he sent his Son to die for you, so that you may be connected and reconciled with heaven again. The world is getting wicked and evil, and everybody is going to be in either one of two places: eternally in heaven and paradise, where the mind cannot even comprehend how beautiful and awesome, and there's no sickness, no death, no disease anymore, or it's going to be in eternal hell, eternally separated from God, in complete darkness, in horror. And you can change this all right now by accepting and receiving and confessing with your mouth that Yeshua Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, died on the cross for you. And because you believe in that and receive it, you are saved. It needs to be written, it needs to be photocopied 100 times, and you put them in your purse and your bag, whatever, and wherever you go around about, when you go shopping, when you're on the train, when you're at the car park, put one under someone's windscreen wiper, put one in the shop where all the loaves of bread are, put one, in different aisles, put ones in the public restrooms, wherever they're going to be found. God will lead you in the right way, and the right person will pick it up that needs it. And you're not out there screaming on the streets like a street preacher, but you're doing the work of the Lord by bringing souls into the kingdom of heaven, at least giving them a chance to hear about it, because some people have never even heard about it. But anyway, so I was just watching this. Oh no, I wasn't watching. That's me. I was just watching something before. Let's see if I can go back to it.
Hey everyone.
Yeah, this one from Angelina K. Bell about why 7/26 is a really high watch date. Okay, she's got a bunch of links here too, which I didn't go over, but there was one I wanted to have a look at, and it's supposed to be the CBDC, so the Central Banking District, whatever it is, and the chip, Okay, so we're going to have a look at that. Okay, WEF launches Mark of the Beast, CBDC microchip that will end gun ownership in America. Okay, propelling ahead at breakneck speed, the globalist elites are implementing their plans to utilize CBDCs embedded under the skin, aiming to abolish the Second Amendment. The World Economic Forum has called on Western nations to urgently ban cash and implement a Chinese-style social credit score system amid growing public rejections of global agenda. Now, just while I'm here, I want to remind you something else about Trump, right? We know as Christians, right, they want to have a cashless society. So that's why we're seeing everything's happening, the banks collapsing, everything like that, right? On the other side of the scale, all these evangelical Christians that are following Trump, what Trump and his crew, this QAnon, are telling you is that the banking system also has to fail because it has to be destroyed so that the world can have this new quantum computer finance given to everybody, right? So on both sides, the bad people and the so-called white hats, you know, the Trump QAnon people, they're just two heads of the same snake, right? But they're both saying that the money has to collapse. The dollar has to collapse so that their forms of currency can come out. This is why you know we're being bamboozled. And this is why you must get off that Trump train if you're on it. Because it's like Samuel. First, and we'll go there actually. Because, okay, we have, it might be 2 Samuel 8. No, it might be 1 Samuel. Yes. 1 Samuel chapter 8. When it came to pass when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. For now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abiah, and they were judges in Beersheba. And his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after Liquor and took bribes and perverted judgment. And all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel unto Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, you are old, and your sons don't walk in your ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the other nations, right? They wanted a king like all the other nations had, so that the king could rule over them and judge them and everything like that. Which is crazy, because God is the ultimate king, right? The thing displeased Samuel. Samuel was really sad when he heard that these people were asking him for this, okay? When they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, Hearken to the voice of the people in all that they say unto you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. Okay, so in other words, these people, which is exactly what's happening now, these people are saying, give us Trump, he's going to make America great again. And they're not even realizing that they're fulfilling Samuel 1. Okay, the same thing is happening. Because we took God out of everything, rather than putting prayer, the Bibles back into school and doing all this stuff. No, we want Trump. We want Trump to reign over us and rule over us, And so many people, there's been books put out about Trump, the second coming, and it's terrifying how many Christians are crying over this man and believe the flatteries that this man is telling you. He was the father of the jibby jab, brothers and sisters. He can tell you remember, people go, oh, but he talks about Jesus all the time, and he's like, God is, he's the number one and whatever. Okay? It says in the scriptures that even the demons believe in Jesus and tremble. Okay? Even the demons believe in him. So don't just think because somebody claims they believe in Jesus that they're working for the Father, okay? It's just, brothers and sisters, this is what's happening right now. 1 Samuel 8. Okay, and look what happens. And according to all the works which they have done since the day I brought them up out of Egypt unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods, so do they also unto thee. Now therefore hearken unto their voices, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of king that shall reign over them. And Samuel told them all the words of the Lord unto the people that asked of him a king. And he said, This will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons, and appointed them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. Okay, so he's going to have slaves that are going to be like his horses. Okay, and he will appoint him captive over thousands, and captains over 50, and will set them to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and make his instruments of war and instruments of his chariots. He's going to take his daughters to be confectionaries and to be cooks and bakers. He's going to take your fields, your vineyards, your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. And he's going to take 1/10 of your seed and of your vineyard and give it to his officers and his servants. And he will take your manservants and your maidservants and your goodliest young men and your asses and put them to work. And he will take 1/10 of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. And ye shall cry out in that day because your king, which you have chosen, and the Lord will not hear you in this day. There you go, brothers and sisters. So these people come up to him, up to Samuel. Samuel, please, before you die, give us a king. We want a king to reign and rule over us. Samuel is upset. He's like, why? God is your king. God should rule over you. No, Samuel, we want a king to rule and judge over us. Samuel goes up to the father, and the father says, don't worry, they've rejected you, not me. They've rejected me, not you, Samuel. So just hearken to them, do as they say, find a king, but I tell you what, when we get this king, he's going to take everything from them. And this is exactly what's going to happen with Trump. The world is going to get so bad, particularly after we're gone, brothers and sisters. When we're removed and we're out of here, chaos can reign. And they're going to need an ultimate fix overnight. And that's why everything's been ready. Everything's made ready to for Trump to slide right back in, right? And the world would roar. They would be so happy. Even people who hated Trump in the beginning love him now because they can see what Biden's done. And it's affected the whole world, right? But don't be deceived, brothers and sisters. You have the Lord thy God, the one true God, rule and reign over your life, right? And you seek the kingdom of heaven first, and you obey and listen to his precious Son, into his commandments. So I'm going to leave it with that, my beautiful brothers and sisters. Like I was just reading before, everything's there, ready to go. They just cannot do this until we're gone properly. Okay, they can just do. And in regards to, again, if people think the jibby jab was the MARK, no, I believe it was a precursor, if you want to call it that. It was a massive test. Okay, but we have the word of the Lord that says, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And I think it is the work of the beast to make you believe that it was the mark, so that people would just give up and go, well, I've taken it, I'm doomed anyway, so I might as well go have a good life, etc., etc. Brothers and sisters, no. Because many of us have family members, me included, my dad, my 2 sisters, my eldest son, they've all had it. And believe me, a part of me died the day that I found out my eldest son had it. I literally fell to the ground like somebody had died and cried. But Father God has shown me and proved to me through his word that nothing can touch his children, okay? The devil can try and destroy. Absolutely. Look what he did to Job. Okay? But this is not the mark of the image of the beast. Okay? It is not that, because that image will speak and you are forced to worship that image. Okay? No one's doing that yet. So we're not there yet. And in a couple of videos ago I was talking about how the book of Revelation could very well be a script from the Illuminati, right? That's why it was added so long later. Now just hear me out, okay? Because what if? Either way, we're good. We know, because all of the good stuff, the protection, the being spared before the hour of trial, and being praying to be found worthy to escape, all of the things coming, that's all in the Gospels and stuff like that. But imagine this, brothers and sisters, that the book of Revelation was actually put in by the elites, the 66th book, right? Was put in by the elites so they could follow their script. It was in open public, and it's like the greatest deception was ever made. Okay? And there was no such thing as, as the MRK. And it was just all a fabrication to slowly bring in, I don't know, I'm thinking out loud, and don't say, oh, that's blasphemy, saying that the book of Revelation is, an added book. Brothers and sisters, and I've done videos before, they've added, like in Mark, is it Mark 9? I can't remember, it's Mark something, and it stops at verse 9, but they've added from verse 9 to 20. They've completely added it, and it's not in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's not in the Codex and everything like that, but they've added ones. They've taken away verses. They've taken away whole books. They've added whole chapters. Like I said, this is why Father wants you to be as wise, I don't really like this saying, but as wise as serpents and as gentle as doves, right? But we have to be on the ball. We have to know our enemy's plans, and, look at the fear the book of Revelation conjures up in most Christians, right? Unless you have a real heart to understand and be comforted and knowing your salvation is sure, then the book of Revelation is going to fear you, because you're like, oh, what if I'm born in this generation and Revelation is playing out? I'm scared, my kids are going to be taken from me, the FEMA camps, my head being cut off, I'm going to have to go through great tribulation, whatever. But I'm just throwing it out there, wouldn't it be a thing, a perfect deception, if that was an added book, right? And that was made for the whole world to fear, but for the elites and that to go off. It was like a written script. I don't know. All I know is the most important part of the word of God is the gospel, okay? And I know that's why the Son came to this earth, lived fully as a man, so he could be fully tempted in all the ways a human could be, otherwise it would not be fair. And I believe and receive and confess that with my mouth that is true, that he died on the cross. And because I believe, receive and confess that with my mouth, I am saved. It's as easy as that. Everything else you've just got to be wary of. And this is why Jesus says, come to me like little children. Okay, because you're not going to have little children that are going to know the first word of the Bible to the last word of the Bible off by heart. all these, like, the Jews will sit there days on end and just have big conversations about the Torah, but they're literally just, fighting and bickering over words when they're not finding the real heart of God. What does God really want? And Father himself says, I turn away from all your feasts. They're abominable to me. Because you're honouring me with your lips by talking about me all the time, but your heart is so, so, so far from me. That's again the reason why Jesus did everything on the Sabbath day, was to rock and roll that whole ideology of, the Sabbath is so important. And, because my parents being Sabbath keepers, Adventists, Seventh-day Adventists, right? My dad was asking me the other day about, why do you think it says in Genesis that, God rested on the seventh day? And, he started saying that's when he said, you should worship the seventh day. And I said, no, Dad, it doesn't say that. It says, the Father rested on the seventh day, and he sanctified that day and made it holy. But it wasn't until Exodus 16 that the institution of you should not do anything on the Sabbath actually came to be. And the reason why that was because the people were moaning and complaining about having no food. So God sent them the manna, right? And they were told they have to pick up double as much on the Friday because it wasn't going to fall on the Sabbath. Okay, and then it was only in Exodus 20 that the commandment came because of people's sin. That's why the law came in. For people who walk righteously in belief and faith and trust, we don't need the law. That's the whole point of it. It doesn't mean we go out and murder and we go out and steal and commit adultery. It means that we're not bound by the law because we live by grace through our faith in the message. God is not a taskmaster. He gives you complete free will. Okay? And that's why he says if you want to live by the law, then you must do every one spot on. All 613 of them. Right? And if you falter on one, you falter on them all. Who can possibly do that? Okay. Anyway, I'm getting a little sermony. But I just hope this has blessed you, and we've had a good Bible study, and how amazing that 7/26 literally is Harpazo, and 2 days from me here in Australia, it's the 24th today. 2 or 3 days, brothers and sisters, who knows? And if it comes and goes, I'm still looking at December. Because like I've said to you in my previous videos, I believe that December 1, it's right at the end of the year. God likes to wait for the last second. And 2, I was telling you about how, back in I think it was 300 AD, whatever, the Jews, under the punishment of death, were forced to change their calendar, right? And the calendar is actually 210 years and 3 months behind. So when you have a look at their calendar at the moment, and you can have a look at a Hebcal 2023. Okay, they're dated up here. Monday, the 24th of July, 2023 is the 6th of Av, 5,783. So if you add 210 years onto that, okay, it'd be 5,993. Okay, it'd be so 5,993 third year. In other words, 7 years left. Like us, 2023, 7 years left until 2030. And so the whole thing with the 210 years and 3 months, that's what he was explaining, that, people think that the Feast of Trumpets and Tabernacles and all that are in September, October, when really it's in November and December. It's 3 months ahead, right? And it makes a lot of sense because it says in Daniel's that the enemy tries to change times and laws, and that's completely to confuse the saints and wear them out. This has been a huge test, of not being worn out completely and just finishing this race, no matter how tired. Soon we will be able to rest, brothers and sisters. Soon we will be able to rest. So, everywhere you look, you see that it looks like it's the end. So I hope that blesses you, brothers and sisters. And like I said, remember in the Coming to Son of Man chapters in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, the very first thing that gets destroyed is that temple. And that, when you have a look at... we'll just have a quick look at one thing before we go. 9th of Av. What happened on the 9th of Av commemorates a list of catastrophes so severe it's clearly a day set aside by God for suffering. Okay, we have the spies returned with a bad report. Both the holy temples were destroyed. The battle at Bitar was lost. The Roman ploughed the Beit Ham Ekdash. The Jews were expelled from England. The Jews were banished from Spain. Both world wars began. Oh my goodness. Come on. The 9th of Av looks like a pretty seriously bad day. And both holy temples were destroyed, right? The first temple destroyed 9th of Av in the year 423. 23. Yeah, the year 2023. 5 centuries later, in 69 CE, as the Romans drew closer to the second temple, ready to torch it, the Jews were shocked to realize that their second temple was destroyed the same day as their first. Okay, so this is why Father had me look into the beginning of each of these chapters, and that's the first thing that got destroyed. So our temples need to be destroyed, brothers and sisters, in the twinkling of an eye and made incorruptible so that we can fly out of here. This is a beautiful, amazing, wonderful. Alright, brothers and sisters, I love you so very much. I pray that you may be blessed by this video and that you may be encouraged by this video. Know that your salvation is sure and true. Do your best to write little notes and copy them and leave them everywhere. We've all got to be responsible for the kingdom of heaven and bringing in souls, even if it's just to plant seeds. Okay, because it's our job to plant the seeds, and it's the Holy Spirit's job to convince and convict these people. So let's get gardening, brothers and sisters. And there's nothing else that's important. Not a job, not a anything. Nothing is important anymore because we are really, 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 really at the end of time. And it's time to get out of here and board that train. Doot, doot. All right. I love you very much, brothers and sisters. I hope the good Lord blesses you. And if I do not see you in the next video... just a quick update too. I have come across a bulk heap of tents, and which is really awesome. It's like $14 a tent. So I'm going to get either 10 or 15 of them, and some hot water bottles. So just so that you know, the money that you've blessed me with for the homeless and stuff like this, I'm going to set it aside to go and probably this week, because I've got to bring my parents to the doctors, and it's in the big city, that's an hour away from here, but it's got a huge big Kmart. And so that's where the tents are. And so I'm going to be getting that for the homeless, which is really exciting. So not just feeding the homeless, but we're going to try and house the homeless as best we can do, with a tent and a hot water bottle. I mean, that's just amazing. So that's, and I couldn't have done it without you, brothers and sisters, particularly those, people who blessed me financially. Thank you for the people who blessed me with prayers. It's all appreciated. And, I'm going to, hopefully, I want to write on a big piece of cardboard, all the people, that have blessed me in these ways and praying for me and sending me these financial blessings. I want to write your names on a big piece of cardboard and stick it up in my room so that I can say your name out loud and ask Father in heaven to bless you. Because I do it as an umbrella thing every day and every night, to bless all my brothers and sisters, whatever they need, financial, health, whatever it is that you guys need. I pray that Father directs you on that, or gives that to you in abundance. But yeah, that's what I'd like to do. I just wanted to update you with that, and that's exciting. So I'm going to be grabbing tents and hot water bottles. So when I do that, I'll make a quick little video about it. So again, thank you. I couldn't do it without you, and thank you again for trusting me with your finances. I know it's a big thing, especially this day and age. So Father bless you very, very abundantly. I love you, brothers and sisters. If I do not see you in the next video, I will see you in the skies. God bless you. Love you. Bye-bye.